we've been spending a lot of time at CME thinking about virtual connection because, one of the things that COVID taught us, COVID first hit, first 6 months, companies were like, let's wait till we can all be together again before we engage in mentoring. Because otherwise, how are we ever going to connect? And what we learned, of course, is that virtual mentoring is not just, a Band-Aid, but it really can be incredible connection. And so I'm wondering about your own thoughts on virtual conversations and how they differ from in-person conversations and what we can do to really bridge that gap to make virtual connections and conversations count.
So put these in a couple categories. Every year, I take on 2 to 3 mentees who are kind of outside my normal scope of what I teach and lead workshops and speak on, and are people who are building their own practice as a speaker, author, mentor, coach, etc. And so every year, you just kind of quietly take on 2 to 3 people. A majority, I shouldn't say majority, we communicate a lot asynchronously. And that, I think, is one of the magical things about mentoring, is that it bleeds into like relevant moments. And so I'm inviting this one guy who I'm mentoring right now, pushing him to create his own card deck to help simplify leadership and make it a little bit more concrete. And that's the aim of his card deck. And he just finished a little rough design. And so right before we hopped on this call, he sent me a couple screenshots of the cards, and I can right then record an audio message and give him feedback while I'm walking somewhere, or I can type him a quick response or send him a screenshot with a couple tweaks. And so first of all, it's like, don't underestimate the power of asynchronous conversation, because you can do a ton of stuff that you can't do really that well live. And so you can get some really thoughtful, pointed mentoring in a volley, because that person has a bit of time to think. They can pull up a link that's relevant for you. They can do all the stuff that, like, if you're in a live conversation, all you have is spontaneity. But that's a lot. Like, spontaneity is pretty great. We should keep it around. It's one of the magical things that we as humans can do, and we should never, in my humble opinion, let it go. So if you're virtually communicating with somebody, I would say, like any relationship, setting a couple guidelines that you both consent to ahead of time, of like, hey, when we meet, be in as quiet and focus of a place as possible. If you're on Zoom, so this is how I'm seeing you in the top. So this is my Zoom screen. In the top right corner, you click these buttons, and there's this very magical underutilized button called Hide Self View. And so, oh my goodness, if you're in a one-on-one or one-on-3 conversation, click Hide Self View. Once you did your hair, make sure you're framed, blah, 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 or lack of hair. And now you're purely present with the other person. Can you imagine a mentoring conversation in person out at coffee, except as the mentor, you hired somebody to stand behind you with a full-length mirror and show your mentee being in conversation with you at the coffee shop. It's like super distracting. Takes at least 20% of your brain process and makes you wonder if you should do this with your hands or this with your hands or whatever else. And so that's a big one, turn off self-view. But that's just, one example. Agree to some rules that are going to make the conversation focused and present more so than in person. I'm curious for you, Lisa, what you've found related to that.
A lot of what you've said. I love the hiding the self-view. Staying in conversation is really important. And that doesn't necessarily, as you say, mean live conversation. It means, have additional touch points, or I should say stay in relationship, not stay in conversation, stay in relationship. So it means I found an article that I'm thinking of, and so I send to you, or I know you had a big presentation, and I send you a text and say, hey, Chad, thinking of you today. Hope how the presentation go. Keep me posted. Or I see something in my social media feed that reminds me of a conversation that we had, or what have you. It's continuing to have those touch points and not letting perfect communication be the enemy of good conversation, right? You may not have a half an hour. You may not have a full hour. You also need to have grace that the kids are going to run around in the background and the dog's going to bark and the guy's going to water the lawn or mow the lawn just as you get out of conference. Grace with each other and ability to do it. one of the most exciting phenomena with a lowercase p that I saw during early COVID was mentoring pairs who would do virtual walk and talks. They would each put on their earbuds and they would each go for walks. One's in North Carolina and one's in Singapore. And they're just having their mentoring conversation as they walk because they need to get out of the house. They've been cooped up. It's that kind of innovation for communication that really can be transformative for virtual conversations. And I've seen create relationships that in some ways probably are enhanced beyond what it would be